Hello guys, I have returned, and today I am here to talk about a recent book controversy, not what BookTokers have done, but what BookTokers have been calling out about a recent book that has been put out that my sister has brought to my attention. And before I continue, trigger warning for pedophilia and grooming, so please be warned, okay? But the book we'll be talking about is by Tori Woods, titled, now get ready for this, it's called Daddy's Little Toy, and the cover of this book is the title shown spelt out with alphabet toy blocks. Yep. Now, it's probably obvious why this book is getting backlash, but for those who are confused, this isn't a horror or psychological book that you may be thinking, but it is meant to be a dark romance book where the male is a grown man that is friends with the female love interest's father that has been in love with his daughter since she was 3 years old. And in this book, there are several quotes of this grown man character fantasizing about her in explicit ways since she was 3. Now, this book has since been taken down, so you can no longer purchase it, and I hope very few did. So the quotes I will be reading are very limited, but I will be reading the ones under the main review because I think that shows the gravity of the situation enough, and I think that is all I can stomach to read at this moment. So where people found out about the contents of this book is through a review by someone named Nini. It says, I got an ARC, but my rating review are my own. I had to DNF. I think 23% was a good amount for me to review this. This book has one problem. It should be on trigger warnings. It has pedophilia. The male main character started noticing the female character when she was 3. I'm sorry, but 3 years old? And then the 2 quotes that she shows to prove this are, wanting a woman as sweet as my friend's toddler daughter, Lucy, who was 3 at the time. Okay, and the other one says, I made the mistake peeking between her legs only to find dark curls hiding what I'm sure was and still is the most perfect, untouched, pretty, and then you can read that on the screen. And while I'm impartial to a little hair, I genuinely prefer my baby girl's bare. It makes the little feel more authentic. Little girls don't have hair on their private parts. Okay. And as a response to this, she says, I can't remember how old she was here, but she was still a child. So yeah, no, this is pedophilia. I can't. They have a 29-year-old age. That is okay if you didn't want her since she was 3. I wanted to continue, but I couldn't stop thinking about this. Now, what I have just read is actually so disgusting, but it's not even the worst of it. Apparently, this I have not seen any photographic evidence, but considering what is written in the book, I would not be surprised. But apparently, where the dedications are meant to be, she dedicated it to her very 2 young daughters, saying something along the lines of, I will never be able to think of my daughters the same. Why would you dedicate it to your daughters and say that? And then that's not even the worst of it either. There is an Instagram post that I will put on the screen so you can read yourself. But I'm assuming that this was to advertise the book in some sort of way. But yes, feel free to read that. It's really disgusting. I do not know what the thought process was in writing any of this. But as this book was gaining attention for the disgusting stuff that is in it, people started to figure out a couple things. One thing is that her name is actually Lauren Ashley. Tori Woods is simply a pen name, but her real name is Lauren Ashley. And before she wrote this book, she wrote a book under her actual name that was also in controversy for completely plagiarizing another book. Now, I cannot find the title of the book that she plagiarized, so if you know the title, please feel free to mention it in the comment section because I would like this author to get the credit that they deserve. So yeah, Tori Woods and Lauren Ashley are the same person, okay? But for this video, I will be referring to her as Tori Woods. And after her book rightfully received a bunch of backlash, she then released an apology, which I will leave on the screen. This apology pretty much gives us nothing. It is just trying to defend what she wrote, even though there's no defending what she wrote. And then addressing how, when all of this happened, some people like her cover designer and her editor and things like that were also getting hate. And that is where she says that they apparently didn't know the full extent of what was in the story, which I find mildly hard to believe, especially in the cover art. What else would that cover art entail? But, I will not be mentioning them just for the sake of that. And she had put this apology out after already deleting everything regarding the book and the Amazon listing where you could buy the book. But since all of this has gone down, it has since been released that Tory Woods has been arrested for the release of this book, because in Australia, the laws regarding CSAM are much more strict than they are in America. So like over there, you cannot possess this stuff, you cannot produce this stuff. So that is why, if anybody who's in America is confused as to why her arrest happened, that is why. But since this arrest, this has led to multiple people figuring out about the situation and trying to defend Tory Woods in any single way that they can. So that is what we'll be talking about. We will be talking about the horrible defense that people have towards this book. The first argument I've seen people bring up a lot is, if Lolita can exist, why can't this? And anybody who says that, I feel like has never read Lolita, and you don't even have to have read Lolita or have seen the movie to know the context, because there are multiple video essays on the book and what the book is trying to show in its existence. But the books aren't even comparable. In Lolita, it does not romanticize this stuff in any way. It is showing it from the perspective of the perpetrator, and that is supposed to make you feel sick and disgusted. It is showing you the demented mind of somebody who thinks that this stuff is okay. While in Tory Wood's book, it is romanticizing it. It is not showing it in a bad light. It is making it seem like it is just something that is okay to happen. And this is where I discuss the existence of taboo topics in books. And that is that they can exist if they are shown properly. If you are showing something like this or essay or anything like that in a negative light in a book, and just having a conversation about it, showing the psychological stuff about it, that is fine. That is fine to have that in a book. But to romanticize it is a completely different thing, and that is disgusting. It should not happen. So yes, there are situations where it is okay to discuss taboo topics like this, but this book is just not one of them. Another argument people have been saying to defend this book is, it's fiction, so why does it matter? Well, fiction fuels reality. Whether you would like to believe it or not, it does. When a book like this is created, it creates a safe space. It makes it feel like as if this content is acceptable to write about, when it isn't. So when a book like this is made, it is important that we make sure to denounce it, make sure that people know that it's disgusting and that this should not be written, so that people do not get comfortable discussing these topics like this. And by that, I mean talking about it in a romanticizing manner. And when books like this are made, it fuels people who already have this demented mind. It makes them comfortable with what they're doing when they should not be feeling that. So yes, it is fiction. I can quite see that. I can literally see that. But that does not change the fact that it affects our real world. Now, to the people who are getting upset by people who are, going against this book by saying that they are prioritizing CSAM over actual CSA, that is not what's happening here, okay? Both are wrong, but they are not equal to one another, okay? It is possible to be against both. Now, I would like to bring the main conversation that people are having about this book, and that is the conversation of censorship. And this is my own opinion on this stuff. I do not think that this is an act of censorship, considering that she took down the books and all of the stuff herself before police were ever involved. And her getting arrested was because she broke the law in her country. That is the consequence of writing a book like that. You are free to do whatever you want, yes, but you are not free of consequence. And I think when talking about censorship, this is not the book to be using that in a conversation for. Because like I said already, she took down the stuff before, and there is a line. There is a line, okay? There's a line that should not be crossed, and this is that line. We should not be just accepting people writing this stuff. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. If I have missed any information, feel free to comment that below. If I have misspoke in anything, please correct me, okay? Especially if you are a victim of any of this, please correct me. And if you have a differing opinion, feel free to share that. But if it's in a disrespectful manner in any sort of way, I will be deleting it. So be warned. But yeah, that's it.